Okay, let's talk about one of the internet's most famous and most misunderstood viral trends. You've definitely seen the scores pop up on your feed, and hey, maybe you've even taken it yourself. But the real story behind the rice purity test is way deeper and honestly a lot older than you probably think. So let's get into it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're just scrolling, and suddenly a friend posts a number 82 out of 100 with zero context. And then everyone starts sharing theirs. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain and explain exactly what those numbers mean and where this whole thing even came from.
All right, so first things first, what exactly is the rice purity test? Let's break it down nice and simple. So, at its heart, it's really just a checklist. 100 yes or no questions about all sorts of different life experiences. But its real purpose, and the reason it's stuck around, has always been social. It's meant to be a fun way to start a conversation, a kind of goofy icebreaker to compare notes with your friends. Okay, and this is probably the most important thing to get straight. This thing is not a real psychological test. It's not scientific, and it's definitely not some kind of moral report card. It was designed to be totally non-judgmental. Now, where in the world did this come from? You'd think this was something that popped up on TikTok maybe a couple of years ago, right? Well, its roots go back way, way further. We're talking a full century. No, I'm not kidding. It all started back in 1924 at Rice University. And get this, it was just a tiny 10-question survey for female students in the school paper. Then, in the 80s, it blew up into the 100-question version we all know today. And then, of course, the 2010s hit, the internet got a hold of it, and bam, it became the global thing it is now. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? What began as a little piece of paper being passed around a single campus in Texas is now taken in seconds on a smartphone by people all over the world, in places the university's founders couldn't have even imagined. That's a pretty wild journey.
Okay, so we know what it is, we know it's crazy history, but what about the numbers? What do they actually mean? Let's decode the score.
So the math here is super simple. You start at 100. Every time you check a box, every time you say yes to one of the questions, you just subtract 1 point. That's it. So the more experiences you've had on the list, the lower your score is going to be. So, what does that final number tell you? Well, generally speaking, a really high score, like 88 to 100, is considered very innocent, pretty typical for younger teens. Scores in the 70s and 80s are kind of the average zone for high schoolers. And then once you start dipping below 70, the score just suggests you've had a wider range of life experiences. And this makes total sense when you look at it. The average scores naturally tend to go down as people get older and, live more life. That really wide range you see for college students, that perfectly captures that unique time when you're having a ton of new experiences and figuring things out. And this brings us to the million-dollar question. Is there such a thing as a bad score? The simple, honest answer is no, absolutely not. The test is just meant to be a reflection, not a judgment. A lower score doesn't mean anything about who you are as a person. It literally just means you've checked more boxes on a very specific list. So why? Why has this thing stuck around for 100 years? What's the secret sauce that took it from a dusty old campus newspaper to a viral trend that just won't quit? It really just boils down to how we use it to connect with each other. It's a perfect conversation starter. It's become a bit of a rite of passage for students, and it taps into that natural curiosity we all have about ourselves and the people around us. It's a fun way to bond, so long as everyone remembers not to take it too seriously. All right, let's bring this all home. If there's one thing you walk away with from all this, let it be this next point. Here is the absolute key. The rice purity test is a social icebreaker. It is a conversation starter. It is a fun little tool for self-reflection. But it is absolutely not a psychological assessment, a moral judgment, or any kind of scientific tool. Knowing that difference is everything. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Your score is just a number. It's a snapshot based on a pretty random list of questions. It's not a grade, it's not a label. Behind that number is your own unique story, and that's all that matters. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. After 100 years of being passed around, evolving, and going viral, is the rice purity test just a silly little number? Or has it accidentally become a kind of mirror, reflecting the changing lives and experiences of one generation after another? Something to think about.